Alright, so this is part 2 of the New York State portion of the Washington return. So we just finished the last video, the 272, which is the education credit for New York State. Now all I'm doing for the New York State tax return is I'm going through everything that is red and I'm filling it out. Now for our taxpayer here, we only had these forms to fill out, but it's possible, because taxes for each individual are unique. Other forms might populate based on different scenarios for different taxpayers. So you're not going to be able to look at all forms beforehand. If a form pops up, you just go to it and you take a look at it and you try to answer it based on the questions that are on that form. Or you can always search it. So let's say if we were to look at the New York 208, just go to Google, turn, or you can just search for instructions. Each form generally has instructions. So there we go. Claim for New York City enhanced real property tax for homeowners and renters, and then it gives you instructions. All right, if you wanted to go through that, you can. But for most part, it's just simple informational stuff. This one, we're just gonna go ahead and fill out the information. Did you occupy the same residence for at least 6 months during 2015? We're gonna say yes. Yeah, the answer could be no, it could be yes. You just fill it out as a taxpayer says. I'm just going with an assumption here. Did you reside in public housing or other residence completely exempted from real property tax in 2015? We'll say no. Did you live in a nursing home? No. The person went to college, so they couldn't have been living in a nursing home. I hope not. All right. For the page 2, determine household gross income. You don't need to do anything. This is being pulled out again. For the numbers, you try not to touch them unless you know specifically that there's something that needs to be added. So it just takes the AGI from the federal and then adjusts it to bring it down here. Does the whole calculation. Just look at the red fields and just go by that, and for New York State for the most part you'll be good, except for like I said, the credits that they should be getting, like the education credit. Then you want to go in those forms and make sure you get everything correct. Now here you're gonna ask taxpayer what they pay for rent. In this case, let's just assume a single person living in New York City. We'll say $18,000. Alright, and then it's going to ask you, does that include heat, gas, electricity, furnishings, and board, or just heat and gas? Whichever it is, you just pick that. None of the above. Real property taxes paid during 2015. So if they own a home, then they probably have this. But if they don't, then they won't have it. And that's it for New York State. This credit, most taxpayers don't get the 208. Very few taxpayers get this, but it's worth filling out. Again, we want to get every tax return correct, and we want to get taxpayers everything that they're entitled to. So we do that, and we are done. Last thing is the NYTR 579. The only thing here is you basically ask taxpayer to read this, or you could read it to them, and then basically checking this is the taxpayer saying, I have read the certification above and agree. Click here if the taxpayer has signed form, and then you would do that. Again, don't worry about the EOR, and that's it. And that's New York State return for you. Like I said, it's not complicated for the most part. It's a questionnaire type of thing. There's not much to be entered here. All the entering is done in the actual federal return. The numbers are carried forward. The only thing you have to worry about is any other forms that populate. You go through them. In this case, we had to apply the education credit for 272. We had to answer these questions, and we had to figure out what the amount of the college tuition expenses, the qualified expenses were. All right. So that's it for the Washington return.